Hey guys, this is Eckhart's Letter. Hello and welcome to another Star Wars video. You'll have to excuse me today. I'm recovering from a pretty serious cold, maybe strep throat, so my voice is a little bit weird, and I might have to cut today's video short depending on how I'm feeling. But I wanted to talk about the planet Coruscant and why it is always so difficult to capture. Now, there will be some minor spoilers from the most recent Star Wars Alphabet Squadron book, that's Victory's Price, but nothing too major. In both Star Wars Legends and Canon, Coruscant as a planet remained under Imperial control for some time after the Battle of Endor. Coruscant is an extremely difficult planet to fully capture and hold, and it's only really the Yuuzhan Vong who we see do so successfully for any period of time, although it does change hands between the Jedi and Sith on occasion. And I mean, the first reason why Coruscant is so difficult to invade is just because of its importance. Now, that's sort of a bit of weird logic, but let me explain. Coruscant is in the center of the galaxy and at the exit point for many major hyperspace lanes. It's the center of commerce, art, philosophy, and arguably even industry in the entire galaxy, plus the seat of most galactic governments. Thus, Coruscant is almost always well entrenched with defensive fleets. However, the bigger problem here is that it's not only the Coruscant home fleet you have to worry about if you're attacking Coruscant, but also other fleets in the region. Again, if you own Coruscant, in most cases, you also probably own the surrounding systems. The core, the inner rim, probably the deep core as well. So if someone's attacking Coruscant or even manages to gain an upper hand, there will probably always be reinforcements available to be recalled. That's what we see when Thrawn sieges Coruscant during the Thrawn trilogy. Yeah, the New Republic has to hold off with the few assets they have for a while, but there's also a large number of defensive fleets pretty much recalled immediately. It's more than just that. Again, unless Coruscant is literally the last place in the galaxy you're invading, if you're trying to strike at the galaxy's capital, there are other difficulties associated with invading a planet surrounded by friendly territory. On one hand, you have stealth. It seems like somehow Star Wars systems are able to identify large fleets passing through hyperspace. That's why the CIS weren't able to sneak attack Coruscant until they were given special hyperspace routes by Palpatine. So unless you know a back way in, it's going to be very, very difficult to attack without having your fleet either identified or perhaps even stopped beforehand. It's more than that though. There's also the issue of supply lines. If the core is in conflict, it will be very hard to take Coruscant because you will not be able to set up supply lines. And this is because Coruscant is very, very well defended. This is something covered in the Star Wars Legends discussion around the taking of the planet. The New Republic has the idea that they can try to starve Coruscant out because the planetary shield is too powerful to bombard from space, but they decided that it would be hard to supply the fleet blockading the planet and that they left themselves open for retribution from other Imperial fleets. But yeah, unless you've already taken the rest of the galaxy, or at least the core, it's going to be hard to establish supply lines to Coruscant from someplace further away. Coruscant is exceptionally well defended, not only by spaceships, although yes, frequently by fleets, but also by ground-based and orbital weaponry and equipment. Coruscant had nearly unbeatable planetary shields, so if you're sieging the planet, one option available is just shut everything down and hold the populace behind these massive planetary shields. Now again, Coruscant does rely largely on importing of goods because of its massive population and very little green space, but still the planet will be self-sufficient for some time. Interestingly, in Star Wars canon in the newest Alphabet Squadron book, we see an interesting situation where the Imperial Remnant has sort of ceded most of the core except for Coruscant, and it's still a very, very difficult, if not impossible, planet to take conventionally. The New Republic practices urban warfare in other environments, but it's just not really feasible to launch a full-scale attack on the planet. Aside from the planetary shield, Coruscant is also covered with ground-to-space weaponry, including ion cannons, probably hypervelocity guns, turbo lasers, and these are actually built within the massive cityscape of the planet itself, so it's not easy to spot something like that, given the fact that the whole planet is covered by machinery and people. On the macro scale in space, we also have golden defense platforms, starfighter hangars, capital ship shipyards, and more. So not only do you have to deal with a pretty much impenetrable shield, but if Coruscant chooses to fight back, it has the tools to do so, even without the the protective fleet that is usually either available or summonable. Again, that's assuming that you can even get there. So, like I said, one of the best options for taking Coruscant is just to sit there, siege it, and try to starve out the population. That's one advantage you do have. There are trillions of beings on Coruscant. If you can turn them against the local government, well, that's one option. However, in both Star Wars Legends and canon, the populace of Coruscant is very, very heavily pro-Imperial, at least the powerful members of the population. So we see this in the Rogue Squadron books, and it's also alluded to in the new Alphabet Squadron books. Any invasion will be met by resistance, and that could be resistance by perhaps trillions of beings. In the Rogue Squadron novel, we mostly see Imperials fleeing, but under other circumstances, I could definitely see them taking up arms, and resistance groups did form after Coruscant fell to the Yuuzhan Vong, and I think that's what could be expected. The population also makes civilian casualties almost a certainty during a traditional invasion. One single missed proton bomb could result in the deaths of tens to hundreds of thousands of innocent beings. That's why the New Republican canon is very hesitant to invade, and they practice a lot beforehand on other city worlds. Some factions won't care, but again, you have to try to rule the planet if you're going to capture it. So maybe starting off by killing large swaths of people isn't a good way to have a rule that's not overwhelmed by resistance and rebellion. So just to summarize, the importance of Coruscant as a planet pretty much means that there will always be defenders there, being the fact that it's in the core and only accessible from a few directions. You're also limited in the way that you can attack. Remember, Coruscant is backed by the deep core, which is largely impassable, then surrounded by planets which are usually allied to the galactic government. It will also be hard to set up supply lines unless you capture the rest of the galaxy, but even if that is the case, you'll still have to deal with Coruscant's immense planetary shields, which are numerous and integrated into the cityscape, its massive defense stations, its Golans, its fighter launches, and more. Plus the fact that you can just hide hangars with strike fighters in the city. You can have small turbo lasers on the tops of buildings. There's no way you can possibly search the entire city and identify every threat. And then of course you have the civilian thing, which presents a myriad of other issues. But guys, that's all for today. My throat is giving out on me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Until next time, be safe, have a good one, and may the Force be with you.